Creativity is because I have been since August 2015. I started on the drug September 2015. So the house is a mess. So the house is a mess.
Yeah. But is the creativity coming back?
I'm able to actually achieve.
So, it needs you to find your requirements, right? So that's a lot. Like you need to decide, what do I actually need to do? Oh, extension, discipline, that, but read.
Oh, you missed the last thing. Yeah. I had a photo shoot. I had a photo shoot in June. And they needed me with long hair, and I wanted mermaid hair. So I said, well, I'm not going to put a wig on me. I'm just going to go get extensions. And I like them. So no,
There's things you can do about that.
Oh, yeah.
So I just, I don't care. Yeah, and I really love them, but this is like the straight thing, like what I straighten is my hair instead of yours. But these are.
You can't tell. Like, it looks great.
Thanks, I love it. I really do. I love to just.
We also need to use
I used to have long hair a long time ago, and like it was. Every day was something new, you know,
Yeah.
maybe this way or maybe this way.
I know.
And then I don't know, went short. Don't know why. Anyway, I wanted long hair again, and you know when you're trying to grow it,
But I don't need to do that.
and you end up cutting it all the time because that awkward stage is so.
So, Leslie.
I'm able to get over that awkward stage.
Yeah.
They're pain.
That is.
Oh, I know. Well, especially depends how short you're going, but when it's around here, everything is like fine.
Yeah. Or you might need to
I cut my hair once a year.
I was wondering.
That's it. Because I'm so lazy.
And
then.
Talk to Judy, she's gonna do.
But I stopped eating bananas and I'm losing hair. And then.
Why did you stop eating bananas?
Whatever banana, because it was supposed to be affecting my dosha, right? I was going with an Ayurveda, you know, just to balance and stuff. And one of his things was, what was I? I was too much fire, so I had to cool. And bananas were aggravating. So I cut it out, but I was having like a third or a banana almost every day. And then just recently I noticed things are kind of fixed.
So low in potassium.
Not as much.
Both of them.
So low in potassium.
No, it's something else in bananas. It's my potassium, it's something else. I can't remember the vitamin. So I went online and that's what it said. So you can either take vitamins or you can go back to eating the bananas or like almonds, walnuts, and peanuts and cauliflower. But it was the banana thing that we were eating daily. So that's the only thing I can contribute to. So I'm going back to bananas. I don't know if we'll be eating.
Yes.
Even though I'm aggravated, but I should be more balanced.
I think,
So I'm
well,
hoping
obviously the change.
things are gonna be
medication.
feeling.
The thing about the change of medication is it's about.
It's kind of neat. The Ayurveda stuff is really
Right,
cool.
it's about you.
It's amazing how
deciding what
fast,
your
it's just like your dogs, you know, the diet you have for your dog. You just change certain things and it changes it. And we started because my son has like crackly knuckles and wrists and stuff, and you can see veins. So I took him to the guy that had an Ayurveda doctor, and he gave him the whole regimen. Within a week, the crackly started to go down, and he was doing like this oil stuff, he was adding oil to his diet, and all the stuff that he was having wrong with just started to go down. His acne started to go down. It's not all gone, but you know, he's also not 100% following the diet. But he's doing it like 80%, and 80% of all the symptoms are gone.
That's awesome.
It was within a week we noticed it. We're like, oh, we're on board with this. Yeah.
It's a lot, it's a lot to say.
I could not, I couldn't believe it, and it wasn't, you know, medicinal really, it was diet, it was supplements or herb stuff, and stuff like, oh, it's just unbelievable. It's really cool.
You know what?
They've already had 4 inches of snow in Edmonton, and we said, welcome to
We had snow last week. It didn't stay, but we had it.
where you are.
Yeah. I said, when are we leaving?
My son said 4 inches of snow at his place.
Where's he?
Edmonton.
Oh, yeah, Edmonton has snow like me.
We're supposed to get some flurries tomorrow night.
Yeah, you're saying.
Yeah, it'll be my spot.
It would build up this thing about 8 feet high. To start it off, and it's on a hill. And he'd make it so like this, and he'd use the flying saucers and
Oh
go
my
down.
God, that'd be
And
so
it'd be like
fun.
a, you go out like
200 feet.
I had said.
Wow. So you put up the lights, you know,
Yeah.
Christmas lights and
Hot chocolate and.
we did that when the kids were small, and they said, David's 25, she's this year Christmas.
They totally would do it again.
And it actually showed.
I would.
Oh, yeah, they don't have to have snow.
Yeah, well, that's the other.
It just times out if they're not active.
And then.
No, they actually are going to.
Oh,
they're
after 8.
But there's,
Another
I don't know, always they
Oh.
are last year, but then later on in the evening, when she finished, she asked this question, and it's like, oh, where's that? But so, this does not.
It's gonna be too loud, let's make it start. Your stove is closing, I was saying, this is, you know, cool down.
Yeah, there's nothing coming in here much. That one's. You wanna close the one near you?
When we start, yeah.
So, Patricia, you know, I heard my niece were talking about the get cheddar and all this stuff. And it's just.
Yeah, we're gonna start decorating things early this year, since I had like it started, I thought of that today.
To my son's living room.
That was so like the first weekend of December.
It's like, okay,
Like seriously?
Cause I have all the presents ready.
Yeah,
So I wanna
it's
say
like,
that.
really?
Like, yeah, because I think it's a
My
coping
husband did it, I
mechanism
didn't see it.
for my son leaving, right? So I'm like.
He said you're just standing there, next thing you're there.
Instead of like, stupid, wasteful.
I know someone who wrote for his Bible, like the biggest Bible.
Very generous parents.
Getting a Bible. Says whatever way she got, she felt. You know, not decrepit or anything, like just whatever, it just was weird.
I don't know.
And
Can we
and
talk to her?
no, it's just,
She has her farm.
Okay, no, that's-
So.
right? Like if you're determined,
Yeah, you know, she makes them, she has a book. And David
Yeah,
said, Annie said,
Come on now, I got that.
so bought him another pair for $60, and there's a book in waiting, I'm still looking for it.
Yes.
but this is, okay, it's exactly what we're doing tonight. So,
You have to pick it up.
That's the Ottawa one.
My aunt says she's gonna sell her.
Hope it'll stay away from her.
To a grandchild.
it doesn't matter.
Okay, good.
Great, oh, wait.
Yeah, but don't
One, you're in the energy anyway, and two, you're recording. So
Oh,
in many ways, it doesn't matter at all.
I don't twitch or snort.
You don't care.
anything, so I guess.
It's true, we will laugh at you,
Okay, perfect. Really good.
but we don't care.
Yeah, that just chunks off. No.
That's what I love about, because this group is, everybody gets it.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's done it, everybody feels it, they know.
If you need it. And I said, well, thank you. I still have it.
So when you guys go down to 10?
No, 12.
So I just,
Just,
I've spoken with her.
It's not soon enough.
right?
I've spoken with her.
And I do, I want to do my course.
And I figured she found out that our marks, it's going so fast.
Oh, yeah.
I don't need to be pulling into that.
Blame,
I asked her.
I'm not quite sure, I've had a long blame from someone.
No, it was like, okay, she might be dead.
Oh, that's true.
We did have a nice fall.
Oh, it was better than the summer.
Stunning.
We did more swimming in the fall than we did in the summer.
Yeah, that's two. That's two.
I know.
Played outside a lot more in the fall.
Yeah,
You know, you can't stop that, you can have any effect.
1 year to the next, so it was just like.
Yeah, you're okay with it?
At least the water levels are back up. If you're into that sort of thing.
Because we're between two dams.
Right.
There's about 10 miles between the two dams, so the dams control the water.
Right.
The male side of my, yeah, you're right, my sister's pretty nasty too. So,
Yeah, so you wouldn't feel,
Yeah, we don't.
I have no idea.
They do drop the water, like about 3 feet more in the fall at some point.
yeah, so the ice.
Yeah. So that's why we never have our place or anything like that, like, you know, Ottawa, you see people
I
with
think
trucks on
building beside
it, ice fishing huts and stuff, and we never do that.
Yeah, that's it.
Because you don't know if they've dropped the water, there's nothing under the ice to support it. Yeah.
I wouldn't go out on ice anyway, I think that's one fear that I have, is
I have noticed.
Whatever that happens,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
it's just.
I'm like, I don't, it's dark, it's cold, it's cracky, yeah, I'm not doing that.
I've never been in the
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
And I did some cross country skiing, and like at the time, I had done about 8 years of Tai Chi, so I had like how I feel. So I was really good at it, but I was just like, this is not doing for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I snowshoe a lot, but in the fields, not on.
Last weekend? Yeah, last weekend. Because Karen had a date. I'm not with you, right? I'm not allowed to speak to her about that because she gets very angry at me. Yeah, because she feels that I'm she doesn't want to, but she's doing it, but you know.
What's going on?
Apparently, I think she does one of them. And then she came and hung out with her for a bit. She was Saturday night.
And
She had to go
did you
back
know
to
that
that distance. She
there's your pictures of the great granddaughter who has her name for the second name?
She's been there.
Maybe it's just left over from that, because he doesn't
Especially
know.
when I'm not there.
She might be dead, I figured they contacted.
They probably take me.
That's what I was thinking.
There she is.
Your mom? No contact?
Well, I'm just waiting, if she wants me, she can contact me.
And are you okay with the different business?
Yeah, apparently.
I think my brother's in town, so if she needs groceries, she can help.
5 minutes, so.
You didn't do Halloween this year.
Okay.
No, this year you did. Okay. All right, perfect.
You can turn on record when you're ready there.
Yeah, we're recording.
We're recording? Okay. So it's November 8th, 2017, owning your fire. We've got about 5 minutes. Which must be really annoying on the replay because then you have to jump ahead 5 minutes.
Oh, okay. But now then these would change.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure if you. So what's this, how do you do it?
Tonight he's going to get something that's for the bathroom that he's building in the basement.
Yeah.
Sometimes he gets groceries, sometimes he goes visits the boys. Yep. They're on Maryville Road. They're on Maryville Road,
Okay.
or not just off it. And they all live in one house. So he gets,
Convenient.
it's very convenient for visiting all of them at once. But he had chores to do tonight. He had errands to run. So we were there this afternoon and saw the boys.
So where is it?
It's off Maryville Road. They're in, one of those war era bungalows that there's 3 of them plus one girlfriend who's pretty much always there. So it's tiny. I don't know how they stand it, but hey, it's working for them.
They do?
It's working for them.
Yeah, as long as those don't have strings attached, right?
And I mean, the house I'm in is tiny too, but it's laid out very different than.
And you have the great outdoors.
Yes. Yeah. And they are beside a park. They're beside a park and a community center, which is kind of nice, but still, I don't know.
I like your place, but not quite so far out. Unfortunately, they don't go together.
No, they don't.
And somebody do the work.
Right?
Don't tell Guy.
Can I ask you a question about Kira? Because I haven't quite been able to figure it out. She keeps getting, because I just saw you touch your knee, that's why I thought about it. She'll play her ultimate, she'll scrape her leg, and then it gets into an infection. One leg, the other knee, same thing. She's fighting it off right now. We're able to fight it off.
Mhm.
But I'm going, okay, it has something to do with connection, because it's skin. I think it has something to do with her brother, because she's playing the same sport as her brother,
Mhm.
right? And she's good, but, she doesn't want to follow in his footsteps, But I'm like, I feel like there's something else I'm missing.
I think she's protecting him from competition with her. Like she doesn't want to compete with him. She doesn't want to take away his crown.
Yeah. Because she keeps getting infected.
Well, so therefore she can't be her best. So this is very much a, like if I
It is
keep,
a bring it down.
keep a lid on.
Yeah.
And, she's protecting his crown. Now, I have to say she doesn't want the crown.
No, she's good on her own and he's
Yep.
different and he's,
Yeah, but she doesn't want the crown, but
Yeah.
she's definitely protecting his crown, even though,
he's fine with it.
yeah.
Huh.
That's on topic for tonight too.
Oh, is it?
Thank you for raising it.
That's because I saw Tiffany. Because I'm like, little screen. It's like, oh my God. I know. I'm gonna write that down. So fun. Oh, man, I tell you. Segue.
Right?
You guys are allergic to cats, right? If we have the meetings at my place, so we're getting two. He gets bored.
Yeah, it's great.
He's only 5.
Oh.
17 inches plus 11 inch.
Oh, anything furry is pretty cute. On Facebook, all those people who have chinchillas, I think that's what they are.
They're so soft.
They're getting so love.
A friend of mine bought me a pom-pom when I was a teenager, one, and he says it was a pom-pom, this little pom-pom.
Sorry?
Chinchilla fur.
It's 7? Oh, this one doesn't say that. Oh, well. Okay, pay attention to your breath.
Cute.
We're going to start with, okay, we'll do sacred space, and then we'll do some talking, and then we'll do different stuff. So, float in your bowl. Soak for a little bit. Breathe that light in, let it soak into your body. Let it support you and comfort you. And then when you're ready, turn and look down and find that light that's far, far down. And sink yourself down, down, down. Sink yourself down. It's always further than you think. I always find it further than I think. When you get closer, you'll find, your mind provides some sort of image, if you do images. So it could be a light bulb, it could be a candle flame, it could be a spark, whatever is there for you. And just stand in close to it in that light and just let yourself kind of acclimatize with that light. And then when you feel ready, step into that light. And then breathe with that. Breathe with that light. And this is the light of your local, the spirit that belongs to this life, as opposed to the big mothership one where we, do karma work. This is the light of your spirit for this life. So as you breathe in, breathe into that light, and as you breathe out, let that light expand. Let it expand through your tissues and through your energy. You glow like a jack-o'-lantern. This is always a good one to use when you kind of find yourself, you're out of sorts and you need to kind of, get that boost from the spirit energy, which is, your spirit's not worried about things like dying or illness or budgets or, being late or all the things that we get worried about, because your spirit's immortal. It doesn't have earthly concerns. And so you can bring that light through you and give yourself the time to kind of let it soak into your tissue and soak into your energy. And it will relieve that kind of worried, stressed state. And all the things that get tied up with mortality, right? It'll just soothe that. Okay, so let that keep going, because that'll help you hear and process. So what I want to talk about tonight, I want to do a bunch of pieces that are all basically the same thing. And so the fundamental common theme that I want to deal with is the fact that we feel sabotaged by our subconscious frequently. Why am I doing that? Or, why do I have this health problem? Or, why am I not doing abundance? Or, why am I bringing these things into my life? Why is this shit happening? Why am I doing this shit? Okay. And even though you understand, okay, I'm manifesting this for a reason, or I'm mirroring that for a reason, or I'm, all of this stuff, my subconscious has a reason to do it. It's still a pain in the ass, right? It's still annoying as hell. And you still get mad. And, and why wouldn't you, frankly, right? And so the challenge is the most common reason you have for the stuff you manifest that you don't like is to support a comfort zone. What I find is, you recognize a comfort zone that's not in your optimal interests, however you want to express that without saying something negative. And you do the work to get rid of the pattern that's causing it to happen, and then it'll stop. And you go, woohoo! And then what ends up happening is you create an entirely different story that looks like something completely different, okay? And it doesn't look the same, but in the end, you end up in the same place of, why am I doing this? And feeling frustrated and calling yourself wrong and just, okay? And the challenge is, because the story is completely changed, the challenge is to realize you're doing the same damn stuff. Because it's the same emotional dynamic you're creating, that, you're saying, why am I doing this? You're angry at yourself because it looks like you're doing the same thing. And fundamentally, it goes back to that comfort zone. How often are you frustrated with what you're manifesting? Then frustration is a comfort zone, isn't it? It's really easy to do. And when you make a big shift and you release the pattern that you were doing, then when you recreate it, like coming from a completely different angle, it's really hard to spot that you're doing the same set of emotions, right? I had a person who, there were health issues in the family. And the health issues in the family were causing all sorts of things to happen. And as a result, not getting any sleep, having problems at work. So got all that resolved. Life was so much better. And then she realized she was not sleeping for a whole different set of reasons. So having the same kind of feeling like not performing at work, feeling judgmental of herself, but because it was coming from a completely different place, it was really hard to recognize. That it was like, oh, you solved all those reasons that you could feel like that at work? Well, let's give you a different set of reasons. Completely different. It looked totally different. But in the end, same pattern. Same emotional dynamic. And it's frustrating because you go, well, yeah, but I cleared that. I cleared that pattern. Well, here's the thing. You will clear the triggers that cause it, but that doesn't mean you cleared having it as a comfort zone. And we forget that the comfort zone is what the limbic system wants, because that's the survival piece. So you go, why would I do this to myself? Well, because it's what you knew when you were 5, 10, 15, whatever. And your limbic system goes back to that because you survived it. Not because it's comfortable, not because it was happy, not because of any of that stuff, but because you survived it. So if what you lived when you were 10 years old was that you felt like you weren't good enough, and no matter how hard you tried, it wasn't going to work, and you were frustrated all the time, then that's what you survived. So that's what you recreate. That's what you recreate. The beauty is, if you understand your subconscious, then you get to say, this is my subconscious doing this to me, the bastard. Okay? Which gives you a lovely state of victim, which perfectly recreates having your parents do it. Because when you're a child and you're a dependent, you do comply, you do conform, you do all of the conform programs because you're a dependent child. Well, as an adult, you're not a dependent child. So you want something to provide the same dynamic, the dynamic you had as a child, which allowed you to feel as a victim. So you make your subconscious your villain, so you can be the victim. I saw lots of dings there. Ding, ding.
Yeah, but you don't see it coming then. If it's looking like something different.
That's my point. You don't see it because it looks like a different story. And the problem with the subconscious patterns is they recreate the emotional dynamic. And because the story is so different, you don't map it.
So, I mean, even being hypervigilant,
right?
Still not give you any results.
Well, because here's the thing. Because what you tend to look at is you look at the situation without, you have to kind of strip that all back to get to the emotional dynamic.
Okay.
Right? You have to strip it back to get to the emotional dynamic.
Could you do that before you get to that state?
Wouldn't that be great? Hey? So
Just cut to the chase. Could we just
right? So here's the problem is if your comfort zone is basically, the persecution, because parents being best intentioned, whatever, I'm not trying to diss the parents, they're humans, okay? But the thing is, they want you to be something for all the reasons parents want their kids to be something. They want you to be successful or obedient or nice or all the things that they want you to be, whatever that is, okay? The bottom line is because they want you to be something, no matter what that is, it's not you. It isn't you. Because the fact that they want you to be something means they're not accepting you. They're not saying, be who you are, right? So no matter how well-intentioned they are, you're still going to have that feeling that who you are is not right. Okay. So when your subconscious is doing things that you don't like, don't you feel like who you are is not right? Isn't that a perfect recreation of that? Ta-da.
That means we have to let go of expectations for Christmas.
Yes. Yeah, letting go of expectations is always a good place to start. And the struggle you have to do it tells you how deep-seated the program is.
Wanting what I didn't have.
Yeah. Right? And the fun part is because you say, I know I want what I didn't have. The thing is, but here's the thing. It's the wanting that's the comfort zone.
And not getting.
Right? It's the wanting that's the comfort zone, which means you can't allow it to happen because that does away with the wanting.
Oh, wow. Because for a birthday, anything like that, I hate surprises. I want the anticipation part.
Right?
That's what that is.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Dings. Love the dings, right?
Interesting.
So we were talking, Judy said, I know I want this. I said, so here's the problem. That's already true. When you say, I want whatever, I want this, or I want this, or I want this, that's already true. You can't manifest from I want. Because
already in the I want.
you already have I want. You can't manifest from that.
You have to manifest.
Right?
Then where do you manifest?
It is. I have. It is.
Oh. That's where the whole feeling,
Yes.
you have to feel what it would
That's
feel like
it.
to have it because
That's
that means
right.
you're already in it.
That's it exactly.
Oh.
And so when you practice feeling that it is true now, what you're doing is telling the universe to give you that.
Oh,
It's easy.
I
Right?
know this, because I do my passwords.
Right.
Every time I do a form of, like right now, it's I am healthy and strong.
Right?
And that's my password. you
Yes.
know, and
Okay.
a
So,
form of-
so just be careful, because watch what goes on in your head. Because if your mind says, I'm going to set this as my password so it will be true, then you've just put it off. So it will be true.
Mhm.
Because that's out there somewhere, right?
Okay, so when I enter it, I do say to myself, I am healthy
Yes.
and strong.
So, and you have to feel it. You have to put
Okay.
yourself in the state of feeling it. That's what you feel is the magnet for manifesting. What you feel is the magnet for manifesting. So that's why you practice feeling it, even if it's for a couple of seconds. The more you can practice it, the more you get the muscles for having it.
Does that sometimes get screwed up with, okay, so it's gonna, I'm a little out there, but there's a reason for that.
No, really?
Mhm. So what if, for example, I said, okay, I am love, I am in love, I am this. And, excuse me, and then the whole world says, the whole universe says yes, but then you attract maybe people that answer to that programming of
Yes. Because
whatever it is that program is.
the magnet is from the emotion, right?
Yeah,
So-
so is there a way to
So-
like cleanse that so that the people who do come in are more supportive of who you
Well, it's
are as opposed to the programming of what maybe
Yeah.
not is.
So here's the thing. So who you bring is going to show you memos. They're your mirror. They show you, look, this is what you wanted. So then you have to go inside and campfire and say, who wanted that?
Ah, okay.
Now the challenge is if you go inside and campfire and say, for shit's sake, who wanted that? I didn't want that. They're not going to talk to you. Okay? Because you're going in there on the attack. Right?
So when I let go of inheriting from my aunt, okay, yeah, I'm not gonna get it, it's gonna go to the kids. I get a check in the mail.
Perfect. First step is always let go. Always. The first step is always let go. And that can be really hard to do. Right? It can be really hard to do.
But it shows me that it can be done,
Yes.
so that's.
Yep.
It's hard to let go.
It is. It is hard to let go. And there's all kinds of emotions attached because you probably feel that it's right. You probably feel entitled. You probably feel all these things that go with it should be this way. And that's exactly why you have to let go of it. First
Is
step,
there a clearing for let go?
unlock.
Just go to unlock.
And you can use campfire to find out like who is it and what are they hanging on to. All right. Yes.
Pat's asking, is the feeling the way to change the comfort zone?
So, I mean, there's layers to this because the parts of you that are holding the comfort zone programs are probably not your adult self. It's probably child selves, right? So you have to go in campfire and work with them or use unlock to work with them. And it's all about aim. It's all about aim. It's all about aim. And frequently you find out that, you know, what you thought you were aiming for is not the thing that you actually need to clear. And that's a challenge because so often, you know, it's the adult perception or it's the perception that's mired in your current way of thinking, which is totally different than when you were 5 and it's the 5-year-old that's holding on to the program, right? It's challenging to understand their perspective, right?
I have a technical question on that.
Yes.
So when I go to unlock and I'm aiming, so you just hit on a nerve there where you said, you know, sometimes you don't aim at the right thing or the thing that needs to be done. But what I'll do is I'll concentrate harder on that thing. But if my mind is shifting or the things are shifting to somewhere else, I should probably just let that go there and not hyper focus somewhere else.
Yeah, and another good trick is whatever you think it is, do the opposite as well.
Oh, okay.
Do the 180 degrees the opposite of whatever it is that you think it is. Clear that one too.
So you aim in both directions?
Yeah, and do them, like,
Good at
do this.
aiming. It's all the la, 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 I don't hear it.
Yes, and that's resistance,
Yeah.
which means you don't feel safe. And so when you get the la la la, start with I am safe.
Well, I'm always la, la, la. I don't know where to aim at. I go in campfire and I won't hear anything, so I have to just.
So when you go in campfire, rather than, trying to get everybody to talk to you when they don't feel safe, just focus on giving them acceptance, approval, and love. Whatever it is, it's okay like it is. So this is the challenge, because we go in there with an agenda to change something, right? You go in there with an agenda to change something, they already feel like you're calling them wrong.
Well, how do you aim without an agenda?
So what if you just go in there to give yourself love? What if that's it?
So then you're not aiming.
Yes, you
At
are.
something.
You're aiming at helping yourself feel loved.
Okay, I guess I understood aim wrong. I thought aim meant decide what it is you want to fix.
Yeah, except,
Aim at that.
so here's the challenge you have. The minute you want to fix it, you've called yourself wrong.
Yeah.
Okay? So this is about evolving us. Because the starting point has to be that you're okay like you are.
Mhm.
Right? If you go in there to fix something, you automatically are beating yourself up.
So I'm not anywhere near ready to start
Well,
doing anything more than just
being
accept it.
loved. And this is the thing. It's that same starting point of letting go, which is right now, exactly who I am. How do I love this? How do I love who I am right now, today, in whatever that means? And so the minute you start going, well, here's 12 things I want to fix, then that's 12 things that you need to love.
Mhm.
Starting point is let go. And I know, I don't remember when we did it, but I know we did a night which was like, whatever you think is the thing that you need to fix the most, give it up. Stop. Just stop it. Because that is a perfect way to hold on to not loving yourself. Right?
Even the concept of fix,
Yes.
that word fixing.
Yes.
Not just with other people, but
Yes.
also with ourselves.
Exactly. Because it gives you that ability. Because if you go back to what I said about the parents want you to be something, right? For whatever, like maybe great reasons, maybe they want you to be successful, maybe whatever. They have reasons for wanting you to be something, which is exactly the same as wanting to fix you.
So just be.
That's it.
End of sentence.
That's it. And so the more you can get clear on, this is right. What I am is right. And loving who you are. This is who you are. Where you actually need to get to is so that you can say, okay, today I could wear a red shirt or a blue shirt, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't make me a better person, to have a red shirt or a blue shirt, because then you're not calling one of them wrong. So then shifting is simply a matter of choice. It's not a fix. It's not a judgment. It's just, here I go. I have all of these options.
So if I go back into the feeling of being there, anticipating Master's arrival when I was just being,
Yes.
because he had no expectations
Right.
on me. So if I get that feeling, that's when I truly loved myself, because
Yes.
I was loved for exactly what it was.
No requirements, right?
So I just get that feeling back.
Yes.
And when I'm doing.
Yes. And the more you practice the feeling, the more it's like tuning a guitar. You tune yourself. Well, start with just practicing that feeling, because you want to build your muscles for being in that state. So it's like the more you can do it, the more you can hold it, the more you can do it. It's literally muscle building. So the challenge is, because we keep thinking there's something we have to fix, the challenge is it's not about fixing. It's, this is a red shirt, this is a blue shirt. Either one is fine. And it's really hard to get to the place where that's the truth. And the reason it's so hard is because you're so used to feeling wrong. It is so much more comfortable to say, I'm not okay the way I am. That's normal. That's normal. Even before you were born, your parents had hopes and expectations for you. Before you were born, they called you wrong.
Shit, we did that to our kids.
Right? So you know what the beauty thing is? The more you fix this for you, the more that vibe goes to your kids.
I agree.
It's so glorious, right? So they have something you never had, right? And they feel it when you shift. Right? So we're going to do some playing, and I want to do some like really like precision bits, because we often do, you know, more big picture, which is fine. We forget that you can do the precision bits. So I want you to think of something that bothers you. Doesn't have to be wrong to bother you. So that could be an ache or a pain. It could be a behavior. It could be, you know, somebody who gets on your nerves. Just kind of pick one thing. And just focus on that breath, doing that sacred space breath. And I want you to find the line or the wire or the smell or the sensation that holds that thing in your body. There you go. And when you find it, I want you to imagine it's like you can touch it with your fingers and ask it why. What are you holding for me? So first start with, what are you holding for me? And then why? Why do I need to hold this? And keep asking why. Why do I need to hold this? And why is that? And why is that? And why is that? And stay focused on this one thread. Very precise, this one specific thing. It's really easy to let yourself pull back and go, well, that's a big thing. Like that's, I don't love myself, okay? Now go back down to that one wire, say, and why? Why is that? Now, hold the wire. What do you need to release this?
Did you say pull?
To release this. What do you need to release this? Because it's holding something for you, and it's got all kinds of really good reasons. What do you need to release it?
With the wire?
Yep. Because that's how it's held, right? That's the anchor. There has to be something that you have to let go. There always is. Now remember, what is it holding for you? Here's the thing. Normally what we want to do is we want to just, you can put love and melt that wire out of existence and that one goes, okay? The thing is, the what is it holding for you will just go somewhere else. That's what I was talking about when I say it. Then you just recreate it. You put it in another way. So you have to go all the way down the whys to find out what you actually need to let go of.
That's huge.
Okay, so find the root. Even like as big as a tree will be, you can go all the way down to the root. Well, where did you get?
I got rejection.
Okay. So is it holding the rejection for you?
No, it's, what I did was worry about what the neighbor thinks of me,
Yes.
which dates back to being rejected.
That's what you need, right?
I need rejection.
Yes.
But I don't know what you mean by finding the root
Okay.
of it,
So why do you need the rejection?
because my parents rejected me.
Right. So it's a comfort zone. Why did you feel rejected by your parents?
Because I was in business.
Okay. Why were you a nuisance?
Interrupted their lives.
Okay. Why did you interrupt their lives?
I existed.
Okay. Why did you exist?
They made me.
Okay. So what do you need to not need the rejection?
I need to have created myself.
Here you go. Their spirit didn't choose your spirit coming here. Your spirit chose that.
Whoa. They're sort of like bystanders.
Right?
So it's my story, it's not theirs.
Yeah. The fact that you guys came together is a synchronicity thing. They didn't command that.
They didn't create me, they
No.
happened to be the producers.
Yes. So they manifested having a baby. They didn't manifest having you.
So I'm rejecting myself.
Yes. Because you were trained to. And that's the recreating part, you see? So you got trained. This is what you do. You reject yourself. So that's what you do.
Make sure everybody else does too.
And find yourself a neighbor who'll do it for you, right? So you can recreate that comfort zone. You feel like that about the cat too a bit, hey?
But then he's
Rejecting you a bit, right? Because you said he's bored, right?
yeah, he interrupts me and
Well, and so that means you're not enough. Doing who you are, because you're doing something. When he interrupts you, you're doing what you want to do.
Yeah.
So he's saying what you want to do is not okay. So therefore, you're not enough
I've
for me.
accepted he's the boss.
Okay.
And so I have to be good enough in myself. And
Yeah.
when I feel good enough in myself, he won't have to.
He will feel that you're terrific.
At the same time, to meet his needs, I should also find something that keeps him occupied.
That's a totally different issue because he'll behave differently when you feel differently. It is useful for him to have somebody else to play with besides you, so he doesn't drive you nuts.
I've never thought of rejecting myself, but once it's said, it's like
Ding.
the whole
Yeah,
out of the face.
the hand in front of the face thing, right?
Mine's more about, like I'm grappling with this a lot, but it's like I need to be 100% certain that I will not misuse my power before I allow myself to fully be in it. And as I'm going in that thing and ask what it is, it says doubt. And I ask what the doubt's about. And 13 layers down, it comes down to you need to decide. It's not the outside that's going to let you know.
Yeah.
It's like you need to make that decision.
And you tell people
You know,
how
so
to
they
treat
draw
you.
the line in the sand kind of thing.
Yep.
I'm deciding that I will not misuse my power. And that's, so then all the whys and the whys, it all comes down to just like, because you're trying to get it from other people. So, you know,
Well, and that's
get the validation from others. So that
Well, and that's-
then I'm a good person. Just have a good person. I'm good. I'm a good person. You know,
right,
like-
and that's being in sync with your parents for the attention you didn't get.
Yeah.
Well, and so this is the thing is that people will always call you wrong if you don't do what they want.
Yeah.
And who defines what good is?
Yeah, and it's like I've had a couple of relations recently with people that dump the most malicious intentions on you, and you're like,
Whoa.
fuck, that hurt. hurts, you know, and
Right.
it's like, it hurts too much, and that's when you realize, like, okay.
That was, yeah, that's not mine.
There's a spot in there that's like,
Yeah.
you know, and it's like you're giving way too much power to the situation.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's anything else to.
Well, and so it's allowing yourself to take that authority. But the key thing here is to recognize that comfort zone. The comfort zone, which is other people have to tell me who I am. People have to define right. Other people have to validate. And recognize that you have to get to the core of that, or else you'll just put it somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the challenge, is to find where's that core. Right? So like you said, 13 layers down, it may be 113.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think it comes down to, it's just a question of
Choice.
command.
You decide. Right? Make sense? Make sense?
I think I decide comes down to everything.
Yes.
Yeah, that's being
Yes.
the command space, right?
Yes, because that's the opposite of victim. Right?
Yeah, but you have. I decide, I totally get that. Makes sense.
Yes.
But we come back to the programming.
Yes. And you don't even realize you're doing it because it's in your own head, right? This is the thing that drives you nuts. It's in your own head.
Yeah.
So you'll reason your own story. You know, it makes total sense when you're talking to yourself.
Mhm.
Right?
I don't even see, I see the pattern, I got to the why, I got to
Yeah.
what it is, and really it's placing myself last and in servitude of others, but I keep choosing.
So pause, because you say, okay, so this is what I'm doing. I'm being in servitude to others. Why? Don't stop there. Why? Why are you doing it?
I don't know, to be loved, I guess.
Well,
I'm not sure.
so no. Don't do it in you just went to your head. Go back, hold the line. Ask the line.
Because I could never fit in.
Okay. Why? Don't edit it.
I'm not
Ask the
editing,
line.
I'm
Ask the
trying
line.
to listen.
Yeah.
So why? I didn't erase the why. Because I couldn't fit in. Why? Because I'm not like them.
See?
I wasn't like them.
See? Why?
I wasn't like them. I don't know why. I wasn't like them.
Ask the line. And see, this is the challenge because you want to then interpret it. Go back to the line, ask the line, because that's the stuff that's holding the 5-year-old perception. That's holding what's below thought. Go back to the line, ask the line why.
Trish, I'm getting silence. I'm getting nothing.
Okay. So back up to where you found, I'm not like them. Focus on your breath. Focus on that sacred space breath. When you get nothing, it's because you don't want to know. And that's okay. Sometimes you're not ready to know. So focus on the sacred space breath because that helps you get away from feeling scared.
Because I can feel so much more than they can.
See? So it came, right? You needed to stay really tight to the line because we really want to go into our head and think about what we've heard. And so you have to follow the line and stay with the line. And that's what I meant when I said, I want you to be really, really precise and stay. This is really tight. This is not big picture. This is stay focused and use the sacred space breath because when you freak, which you will, because you're going into this really deep seated stuff that's held in the deep wiring of your brain. And it isn't how you think, right? It's not how your cognitive brain thinks. So you're going into a different place and you're inside yourself and it can still feel like there's a gap, between, like you're observing it, you're going, really? Because you can feel the gap, because it's not your cognitive brain. You're used to the chat in your cognitive brain. So allowing yourself to stay with that and go there, and then go back to the breath when you need the help, to, okay, both to keep to the line and to be willing to hear.
Mhm.
So you feel more than they do. Yes, you do. Why?
Oh. Because I have a deeper understanding than they do.
Why?
I'm not ready to know.
It's okay. You get it now, right?
Yeah.
You get it now. And it's so far down. It's so deep. And it can feel absolutely foreign, even though you know you're inside yourself.
Yeah, it does. Feels like I'm on uneven planes here. Like
Right?
my footing's a little
And that's okay.
shaky. Yeah.
And, you know, I have to say, the more you do it, the easier it gets.
Mhm.
Right?
Thank you, because I went down with that and
Yeah.
agreed, and I wonder, maybe not clear, but is it because the deeper understanding is because I can access the spirit, and I've been taught I'm not supposed to be special.
Yep.
So I'm not allowed to fit in, because if I did accept all I could be, then bad things would happen.
And that's what you get taught.
That's what.
Because you're taught to conform. Right?
And we.
Walk like a duck, quack like a duck, don't make a fuss.
But we may feel more out of step because we're seeing a whole dimension that they're not even aware of.
Really
don't
not.
Want to be.
Really not.
They're afraid.
So afraid. Because they're so afraid.
So they stomp on us.
So I end up complying in that way.
Because you're trying to protect them from their fear.
Oh,
That's what we do most of the
time.
And so the worst part of that is, when you get to that, is because you can't, they're going to be afraid anyway. You can be strategic about how you interact with them, knowing that they have that fear. But the bottom line is, you can't stop them being afraid. And yet you've learned, you know, we try so hard to take care of them, you know, and to comfort them. And it doesn't work. Which just adds to the feeling like you can't succeed. If it adds to that feeling, because you're trying so hard, you're hurting yourself so much in an attempt to protect these people. And so then you learn loving them is all about hurting yourself, because that's a great lesson.
It's like taking a racehorse and putting on blinders and hauling back on the reins so it has to go around in a circle like a donkey.
Right?
And you go crazy because you're a racehorse and everybody else is donkeys.
Right? And the fun part is, they've
It's okay to be a donkey, but.
well, and the fun part is, they've chosen donkey because they like it better.
Yeah.
And sometimes the problem is, by being a racehorse, you remind them they made that choice and they don't like you for it.
Yep.
Right?
Pat Milland is asking for a little bit of a guidance in terms of digging deeper.
Okay, so I want context, because I see lots of lines, okay? So give me the whys you got. I see 3 active, and I know that's, you know, there's that overachiever thing going. I can pick one if you want, or you can tell me which one you want me to point at. Lots of lines, but I see 3. You're actually working on 3, as opposed to, you know, 1. And if you're processing, focus on your breath, because that'll help. Because you know, everything that gets said is for everybody. Because that's how the rules work. Well, I shouldn't say rules, but that's how we benefit. Yeah. Well, you're not a victim of the universe either. So it's how you work, right? It's how you bring yourself all this stuff. Okay. I'll pick one. Okay. So why is the creativity? Why is you could see a different way of doing things? Why is they don't want to hear the different way of doing things because they want to sustain whatever they've got going? Why is you're in pain watching them do that? Why is okay, that's an interesting one. Because normally where you would go there would be why is then you learn to be in pain all the time. So why is pain becomes normal? But it's actually, it's like you learn, instead of learning to be in pain all the time, you learn to inflict pain on you, which is a different thing. So very specifically inflicting pain as opposed to being in pain. That makes it a much more active and like it's got to be an ongoing process then. You have to find new ways to do it. Back to creative, yeah? So why would be, it's like you have to, because you can always come up with another way to do it. So it's like you have to stamp on every one. So the constantly inflicting is so you don't come up with yet another way to do it. So where this has to go is that you have to focus on the strategy versus on the getting agreement from them. So this becomes about understanding, like they can't, if you say, you know, all you need is if your glass overflows, all you need is a bigger glass, they can't hear that. So you have to think of, you know, what could they hear instead that will cause them to think it was their idea to get a bigger glass. Anybody who lives with a man should know that. So it's about understanding that it isn't your job to convince them. It isn't even your job to tell them another way. If it's in your best interest to have the other way for your reasons, then it's what is the strategy that allows it to come about. So the permissions to get the pattern to release are, you know, one, letting go of them hearing you, which is always a challenge. We get into this conflict because it's like, you know, you can understand if I want to get them to get a bigger glass, then if I come up with the right story so they'll believe that they had an idea of getting a bigger glass, they'll have the bigger glass and the problem is actually solved, except you don't feel validated by that, right? Because there's that part of you that wants to feel the validation of convincing them that getting the damn glass was the right thing to do, right? And we don't seem to get the same validation when we do it strategically, right? And so it's interesting, like, why don't we? Why don't we give ourselves the validation when we have the effect? Why do we want them to validate our effect? Why isn't it enough for us to have the effect? And the simple answer is because you're still in sync with your parents, right? You still are waiting for them to figure out that who you are is right. And so you want them to tell you you're right. So the easiest way to deal with that is to go into your child selves in campfire and love them. You tell them who they are is right. You teach them to feel the acceptance and approval and love. In order to, the easiest way to do that is go in there, find the little ones, because the little ones are really easy to do it with because they look so little, right? and feel that acceptance. Like you're just a little one. No, like how could you be wrong, right? And feel that feeling that like, yes, you should be loved exactly who you are. Then when you feel that, take it like from your heart, put it in their heart, install it like, book, this is it, you're loved. It's not a discussion. It's not a teaching. It's a shift like that. You have this now. It is now in you, right? And it keeps going back to that, that challenge we have because our comfort zone is to feel wrong. It is so our comfort zone to feel wrong. So the line you found, put love in it and be very aware. It's not about changing the line. It's about loving it as it is. Now, here's the deal. If you do that, if you give it love, it's going to evolve it. The thing is, if you're aiming to evolve it, it won't work because you're calling it wrong. You're saying, okay, I'll give it love so I can change it. You just call it wrong, and that's not giving it love. So if you just love it as it is, and this is the self-image piece, because this is who you are. So the key to allowing who you are to shift is to love who you are so that a possibility becomes available. Because what this line does is it holds this in place. So you're not trying to destroy the line. You're allowing other options to come into being. This line is not wrong. It's just an option. It's an option. So allowing other lines to come into being, it's like having other colors of t-shirts. Yes, I can wear a blue one. I can wear a red one. I can wear a purple one. I can wear a yellow one. Yellow doesn't look good on me, so, it's an option. So giving this line love is about understanding this is who I am, and that's okay. This is who I am, that's okay. Because the love is what allows other options to become available. They can't be available if you have this anchor and it's the only one you can get to. I was talking to someone about cancer the other day, and I was explaining, and like as often happens when things come out of my face and then I hear them, it was very interesting because she said, okay, so if it's the subconscious that makes the choice to have the cancer, and the subconscious is all about survival, why would the subconscious choose something that's going to kill, right? And what came out of my mouth was, when you're stuck in conform, it's not you that's surviving. Okay? So basically, the subconscious will choose an exit strategy because you, who you actually are, isn't allowed to live. That was kind of big. I thought that was kind of big.
That explains what I saw with my mother-in-law.
Yeah.
I saw that, but it was like, doesn't make sense.
Right? Well, because it's the ultimate runaway, isn't it?
It doesn't make, yeah.
It's the ultimate runaway. So think about runaway in the context of the tribe is comply. And what comply does is be who they want you to be, and you lose who you are. That's what happens with comply. So when people are doing comply, they aren't being who they are. And be who they want you to be, and you lose who you are. That's what comply does. That's the conform program, that's comply. And it is run away. You run away from who you actually are. right? So this is the ultimate runaway because you're not being who you are.
Is your subconscious only for this life? Because if the subconscious,
It's part of the physical, yes. It's this body.
so, okay, that doesn't match my thought of it's allowing the body to dissipate because the soul will go on. But if the subconscious is only for this life,
Yep.
then it's just saying, okay, this isn't working and we're gonna shut down.
So what it's doing is it's saying, I'm not alive.
Oh, I'm not alive anyway, so the body doesn't need it.
So it basically, it expresses that.
Okay.
The who you are is not alive,
Makes a lot of sense.
and then it expresses, right?
Because I see exit strategies all the time
Right?
in my work.
Yeah.
And a variety of them.
Yep.
Okay, so the who you are is
Already gone.
determined to
Already
be not
gone.
alive.
Yep.
So we'll just take you
So the
out.
body just expresses it. You go, oh yeah, okay. The body is so literal.
So, and if you take charge
Yes.
and say, because I have this, well, screw what I've been doing, I'm gonna live for me.
Well, and think about it, like the people who are quote survivors, that's what they do.
Mhm.
They say, okay, you know, I had this close call. I'm living life the way I want to live. Screw all the rules, screw all the things I thought were important. They say, none of that's important. I'm going to do what I always dreamed because I had this close call, which would be why they're survivors. Right?
Because they're able to sort of use that to somehow catapult themselves out of.
Into the truth of who they are, right?
Yeah. And be and live who they are.
Yes. And that's what gives them the permission. Right? Fascinating. It all makes sense. When you understand how it works, it all makes perfect sense. Frustrating as hell sometimes.
So is there any other way of getting that permission?
It's all about story. It's what is the story that you need, right?
Mhm.
Remember the stroke thing? So I got asked to speak years ago. I got asked to speak to this stroke survivors conference. They wanted me to do a workshop, so I did that. And so I did, like, I had, I don't know, 200 people. And they were fascinated when I was talking about why people have a stroke. So you have a stroke when you get stuck in stand and you can't fight. Because your body's not meant to sustain that, right? You know, all of the threat reactions like stand or fight, they're meant to be an interim solution to a threat. They're not meant to be an ongoing process, right? And so you get stuck in stand. So, and it's because of integrity. So people are stuck in a job they hate and they can't leave because they're supporting their family and doing the things that they call right. Or, you know, they're in a marriage where they're so miserable, but they believe it's forever. So they can't get themselves out of it. So it's a stuck in stand. They stand because of integrity. And so I said, this is what happens. This is about integrity. You get stuck doing what you feel is the right thing to do, what you feel you should do. And you get stuck in this position till your body says, I can't do this anymore. And then, of course, what happens is they have a stroke and then they can't do the job they had. They can't be the way they were in the relationship. They get a rewrite, right? And how much they recover depends on how much they need what the stroke does to have the rewrite. So the people who say, I need to change my life because of this, they recover a lot. The people who say, as soon as I get better, I'm going back to that job I hate, they don't recover. You know, they end up with all kinds of paralysis or whatever it is they need so that they don't have to go back to that job. Right?
So can you say that piece again?
Yeah.
Just to say this is perfect. How much they recover depends on?
How much they're willing to change their life so that they're out of that stuck and stand. Does having the stroke free them from what they had to uphold? Does it give them permission? That's the story, right? So people who have a brush with death often say, okay, life's too short. Now I got to live it the way I want to live it. And that's what gives them permission to live. right? Yep, right? And so for us, it's about what's the story, right? What's the story? I saw a whole bunch after the federal government had layoffs there a few years ago. And I mean, generally speaking, the federal government doesn't do layoffs, right? That's one of those jobs where you have the job and you have it till you get your pension, and a lot of people will stay. Even if they're massively unhappy, they'll stay because they want that security. And there's, there's valid pieces to that. And I saw a lot of people after the layoffs leave government jobs that they hated because they said, the reason I stayed was for the security, and they just broke that. I don't know. I could get laid off next year. Why am I here? And I saw a lot of people. It gave them permission to do what they wanted to do that they couldn't have done because they were stuck in stand for the security. Right?
The writing gave me that.
Yeah.
Of course, as soon as I retired, the royalties crashed.
Yep.
But I was already out.
Yep.
My health went up better within days.
Yep. So, okay, let's go find. And so whatever one you pick this time, I want you to see, can you pick something that's like totally different? So like if you pick physical, pick relationship. If you pick relationship, pick physical, pick circumstances, pick something that is something that is, you consider a negative. And then find that line. Ooh, pay attention to your breath. Do that sacred space breath. Okay, find the line. Just think of this is the line. However it appears for you. Could be a sensation, could be a smell, could be a noise, could be. I tend to use visual language because it's easier to speak in visual language. So find the line and then just touch it. Say, what are you holding for me? What are you providing for my life? And then once you know that, then you start the why chain. Keep asking why. That's it. Remember, if it goes blank, go back to your breath. And stay with the line. When you find yourself popping up into your head, use your breath, go back to the line. That's it. Remember, give the line love. And it's not to remove it. It's to know that this is part of who you are and it's right, so that other options can come into being. It's always a bit of a challenge because this one's a rut. You know, it's the familiar, it's what you're used to, it's those things. And so bringing other options into being, you also have to practice, you know, being able to choose the other options, wearing a different color shirt. It's getting to know this part of you so you know this is the familiar. This is where I go by default. So that you can see the ability to choose something else. You can see the influence of this.
I came to the same conclusion, just through a different path.
From a totally different direction, right?
Totally different direction brought me down to the same whys, like the same answer to the whys near the end of the line.
Yep. Which shows you this is how it expresses everywhere in your life. Right? Damn it.
No, it's wonderful to know.
Absolutely. Once you're willing to know. Right?
Power is knowledge, right?
Right?
Knowledge is power.
Yes.
Once I hooked onto something else, and then I thought, oh, it's just the same. So I went to something else, which was writing, and what I got down to was I've been squelching. There's a part of me who wants to be wild and crazy and all sorts of wonderful clothes and just colors, and I've been squelching that. And as you say, someday I can be like Mavis and being wild and crazy, and another day I can choose to be like a sober judge. And I can, every morning I can choose who I'm going to be.
Yes. Which t-shirt today?
Yeah.
Or whatever, right?
Yeah, t-shirt meaning.
Yes, anything. Yeah.
Meaning the facet.
Yes,
I've got many,
all
many
those
facets.
options
And I've
available.
been stuck on just using 2 or 3.
Yes. Which would completely suppress the creativity,
Oh, right. Guess I'm going shopping tomorrow.
right?
Oh, where are you going?
I got to, keeping me safe,
See?
again, essentially comply,
Yes.
making people like, doing things for people, making them like me,
See?
to keep me safe.
Yes. So they don't kick you out of the cave.
Yeah, and
Would-
also not, it's not, they wouldn't, it seemed to be that they wouldn't love me for who I was,
Yes.
only for their impressions of what
Right?
I could do for them.
Yes. Which is pure conform,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
That's the fundamental conform. That's what it is,
It's also very much our work lives,
right?
isn't it? Our
Well,
employment lives.
Yes, because our culture does not employ people, right? It employs cogs in whatever wheel, right? You're not a person, you're do your job,
Mhm.
right? And we're very much trained that if you don't do the job, they just get rid of you and get another cog. You're not considered a person. And that's the whole corporate mentality, which puts profit before people. Right?
So mine started off with that same kind of idea of like being like super supportive, like, you know, and as soon as I said why, like, it's like the thing was like, I'm annoyed at people that aren't supportive of me when I've been super supportive of them, kind of thing, right? So it's like, and then it's like, why? And and then my heart started palpitating like crazy, and I was like, oh, maybe that one's too big. I don't know. So it took a to start, but basically what it came down to is I kind of got to meet the part that's afraid of,
Yes.
you know, and it's basically I offer excessive support so that I can then call them wrong
When they
for
don't.
never being able to support me as well as I support them.
They can't, right? It's impossible.
It's like, ugh. And then I kept going down into it, and it just gets uglier and uglier in a certain way. It's like, well, because they didn't support me when I was a kid, so I want to hurt them, and then the further I went into it, why, it ended up getting to the place where it's like, I am the one that hurts myself the most.
Yep.
Got rebel, right? So self-destruct. And
You set them up to fail
yeah,
so that you can be hurt, right?
so that I can be hurt, and so that whatever. Then it's like about like supporting them is a way to not support myself, and the way I don't support myself is by bashing into myself about, you know, blah 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 blah. So that's interesting.
It is.
I'm looking forward to the rest.
Right?
You know, I am too.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and so notice, because what you're doing is when you find that line, is you give love to the line. It's not to remove it.
No.
Okay? It's because when you love the line, you allow other possibilities to come into being. So this is not a yank it out thing,
Thank you.
right?
For the
This
reminder.
is not a yank it out thing. This is recognizing, okay, this is who I am. This is how I'm literally how I'm wired. This is how I tick. The thing is, I can have another choice.
Mhm.
Don't call this one wrong, right? Don't call it wrong. It's saying, I know this. I know because you've learned this. Now you've seen it. Now you've felt it. You get it. This is who I am. This is my default. This is what I will do if I don't take the step, if I don't step back and say, okay, what I'm going to do on automatic is this. Now, what other t-shirt could I wear? What other option do I have? And it's to not call this wrong. Give the line love. By giving the line love, you allow yourself to even see another possibility. Because as long as this anchors pain and anchors fear, you can't even see the choices, right? Because this becomes the default. You don't even know you're doing it, right? You can't even see that you're doing it. So there's no way to even make another choice available, right? So it's seeing it, recognizing it, being able to get that step back and say, okay, well, if I didn't do it this way, what's another way I could do it? And part of that is being strategic in your interactions with people instead of strategy instead of conform. It's not putting yourself in danger. It's not like you don't have to confront them and say, screw all you people, you know, because that's not helping you. That's not going to make you feel safe. It's understanding, you know, how do I get them to believe they chose getting a bigger water glass? How does that work? And understanding that desire you have to get them to tell you you were right about the size of the water glass, that's that child inside you. So then the child needs you to go in and love them. The child needs you to go in and love them. So we could do campfire. The thing is, you guys know how to do campfire. You know how to put in the heart of the child. There's other pieces I want to do that aren't necessarily as familiar, right? So now I want to do an opposite. So I said, a lot of times when we're thinking like, this is the thing that I need to get rid of, this is the thing I need to do, it's not easy to see your own opposites, right? So I want you to think, you know, think of something you've been aiming at for a while. And so, you know, one night we did, okay, pick the thing that you've been, you know, working the hardest at for the longest that just won't go. Now give it up. We did that, right? We did that one night because the bottom line is if you've been at it for more than 3 months, it's a lie. Whatever you've been telling yourself you want, it's not the truth. And so step one, let it go. Stop pretending that this is what you want because you're using it. You're using it to beat yourself. You're using it to distract yourself. You're using it to hide what you actually want. Because if it's not gone in 3 months, you don't actually want it. And there's a reason for that. So you can look at the reason. So so let's do it that way first. So pick something that's been around for like, I don't know, a couple of years. Something that you're thinking, oh, you know, why can't I fix this? This is one that doesn't move, for instance. So pick that. Pay attention to your breath. So you've got that sacred space breath going to help your body not freak. There you go. Now find the line. Now this time, because you know this is not the truth. What you think it is not what it actually is. So be aware of that when you say, what are you holding for me? You know that what you think it is not what it actually is. So what is it really? What are you actually holding for me? And let the line tell you. And somewhere along the line say, what are you hiding for me? What are you hiding for me? And use the whys with that as well. Because it'll say, this is what I'm hiding, why? And why? And why? It's a lot of anger right there. It's a big knot of anger. more you can put love in the line, the more the options become accessible. Get better.
This is harder.
Yeah, because this is the. It's one thing to look where you haven't looked. It's a totally different thing to look under the rock that you've been holding down with, putting a piano on it. Right.
Marianne has a question.
Yeah.
Can Trish do my whys for a new job? I got stuck in my head and I'm not sure if it's because I don't like my first answer or I don't want to know. Probably both.
Yeah.
Or does it matter? And just send love.
Yeah, it's just send the love. If you put the love in the line, because this is the same reason that when you get stuck on a blank, the sacred space breath helps, because it brings you to that spirit energy, gets you out of the fear energy, right? And so as long as you're putting love in the line, you're good. So I could still do, hold on. So it's the new job is, yeah, because there's a shock. The block on the new job is blocking you from being, because you're resisting connecting to people, it's blocking you from finding the place where connecting with people will be easier. And there'll be all kinds of people you'll want to connect with. And that's to keep the, so you go, why? Well, because you're supposed to feel lonely. Why? Because that's what you learned. Why? That's what you lived. That's what you lived as a child, was feeling lonely. Why? If you keep going down, you get to that place where you're different than them. And this is not different like they're wrong. It's different like blue t-shirts and red t-shirts. People will decide that living in fear is easier. And I have to say, it in so many ways, it's easier. It's easier because then you just, live the box life and just go through the motions, and you're just being like everybody else. It is easier. Standing up and being the truth of who you are and doing this work, this is not easy. It's fulfilling and you get to joy, but then that makes you the odd one out, because most people are not living joy. They're not living joy. Most people are living in misery. So, it's a lot easier to be just like everybody else, right? Right?
Nobody's interested.
Nobody's interested. Or they get angry because you're happy. It's fascinating, right? And, it's funny because part of the going south and being in these RV parks and stuff is I'm around all kinds of strangers, and I don't do that, right? I'm very introverted. So we go, sit in the hot tub or whatever. There's all these people, and I watch how they make the choices that make them so unhappy, and it's just they don't even realize that they're making the choice. And I just keep my mouth shut because that's not why I'm there. But it fascinates me because it's the norm. It's very much the norm, right?
The second last why always seems to go down to de-evolving, either myself or something. But the word de-evolve
Yes.
keeps coming up.
Yeah. So, and I use the word evolve for we evolve who we are, not necessarily to better, just to different, to make choices accessible. So if you go down to de-evolving, it's the place where you're not having choices. So you're
Because I'm thinking it's like reverting us back to a different.
to the conform. It's reverting you to the conform, right?
Wow, I didn't get that. I know what the word means.
Yes. Yeah. Awesome. Go ahead.
But mine was harmonious family relationships. And why was because I was used to chaos. And why couldn't I break out of that was because then it wouldn't be accepted from the family, so it wouldn't be part of the clan.
Yep.
And then you said that this was anger, so how do I get rid of that if I can't?
So part of it is to tell the truth that they want that chaos. I mean, everybody will bitch about it, but they do in fact want it because they're creating it too, right? So you have to start with, okay, this is how they want to hang out. This is what they want it to be. They want the squabbling. They want that. And so to allow that to say, okay, then let it be. That's how you're wired. And so that's the starting place, is to give that the acceptance, approval, and love. Right? And I would suggest to unlock with them all to say, all right, I forgive you for wanting this drama and chaos. Will you forgive me for wanting the drama and chaos? So do that, because that's where you'll be able to release the anger, by accepting that for all of them and for you too, right? And so it's the giving the line love is saying, okay, this is who I am. This is how I'm wired. I want this drama and chaos. And that's what allows other options. Until you can love it and say, it's okay like this. You know, when that happens, when you can give that love, then other possibilities come into being. Right? Seriously.
I was gonna think it's a little bleak there.
Right? Well, and this is why we get so frustrated and we feel like, why am I doing this to myself? Like, why would my subconscious choose this shit? You know? And that's what we get frustrated, right?
So I got that it was holding pain to call myself wrong, because that's all I know, it was the way it was, blah, blah, blah. So when you asked, what are you hiding? It was that you're brilliant, a shining star, fabulous, gorgeous, blah, 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 blah. And
Did that make you cry?
No. But I got a hell of a pain in my chest.
Yes.
So as not to see the fantabulous.
Right? Because you're hiding it for a reason. Because you hide it because you think it's dangerous, right?
Yeah, and that was because it was not allowed. People don't like it.
Right.
I didn't get further, I didn't
Well-
get down on any further on.
Well, and then the key becomes be strategic. You know, you don't have to shove it down their throats so that they'll attack you. Right? Because if I go to the hot tub in the RV park and everybody's talking about their whine and, you know, their pains and their whinges and getting old, you know, body starts to go to hell. And if I sit there and say, you know, you don't have to do that. It's like, it could be fine. Like, I'm going to get rocks thrown at me, right? Like, and I don't need that. I don't want to take it on. I'm not interested in that. I don't need to change their minds. So how do I interact? Right? Usually by dating. Go back when there's somebody there. Because I'm just not interested. It's decide, you know, what effect do you want to have? What interaction do you want to have?
And what things can you affect?
Right?
Because that other thing about trying to make people happy, you know, like maybe telling them something optimistic makes them happy, but no, in fact, you can't.
Probably
make them
not.
happy.
No. Yeah. They want a wine. You know, they want to have a wine party. They don't want to have a happy party. And it's choosing your effect. Part of that is understanding your territory. It's not my job. These people are not my territory. Right?
So I'm thinking that if there's a piece of us that knows this, there's a piece of us that, you know,
Yes.
can take on that cause.
Yes.
And that piece of us help.
Yes.
in some way.
And the more you give that line love,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
The more that piece is allowed out from under its rock,
Okay.
right?
All right.
So it's really easy to fall into an adversarial position with yourself, right? It's a lot easier to do that than it is to love yourself because you got a lot more practice at that, right? You got a lot more habits of calling yourself wrong or, you know. And even if you say, well, okay, I get it, you know, nothing about me is wrong. I'm supposed to love all my parts. I just need to fix this bit, right? And so the idea of saying, accept this, love this part of yourself, it can be really uncomfortable because we don't like it. We don't like it. And it can have consequences. These expressions of our patterns have consequences in your life, right? Especially these annoying people who mirror back what you need to see about yourself. They're really annoying. In fact, the guaranteed way you can know they're mirroring something you need to know is that they're annoying. The more annoying they are, the more you need to pay attention to what you're trying to figure out about yourself. You can do that with a person too, right? You can find that line. You just go with the frustration that you feel, like the annoyance. If you feel the annoyance, then you find the line for that and hold it and do, what are you holding for me? Right? Follow it down the same way. Right? It just helps you get to what they're showing you. Right? So what this is a way to get the campfire information without having to get them to come out. Right? It's another version of campfire is what it is. There's always another way. Like if there's a tool that does it, there's 50 more. And so a lot of times, you know, like you just need to hear it a different way or go at it or, you know, just use a different technique and you'll get different pieces. Right? So pay attention to your breath. Bring that sacred space energy. And when you're doing this at home, like if it takes an hour, you can take an hour. I mean, mostly we've been doing 5 minutes, which is not really a lot of time when you think about it. You think you're getting a lot of information in a very short period of time, which is cool, right? So now let's do the opposite one. So we did the, you know, here's one that is straightforward. We did another version, like coming at it from a different way. We did the, okay, here's one that isn't what I think it is. What's it hiding for me? And now I want to do the one where you know what it is, and it's actually the opposite. So think of one that you know what it is that hasn't shifted.
Explain again what the one that we're looking for.
Yep. So I want you to just think of something that's been bugging you for a while, certainly more than 3 months. You know, maybe it's been around for a year or so. And you know what it is. You know what the issue is. So find that line. Lots of breathing. Pay attention to your breath because this one's challenging. You said the one where it was hiding was challenging. This one will be that bit more challenging, and that's okay because the breath will bring you through it. It's about recognizing that this is scary, and you use the breath because the fear is mortal, and the spirit isn't. So that's why the spirit can comfort the body. And it just raises the frequency. So you know what it is, find a line. And then when you have that line, say, okay, because this hasn't cleared when I know what it is, I know it's actually the opposite. So what is it really? Lots of breath. Yeah.
It's amazing what lies hidden.
And how hard we work to hide it so that we can hold on to it. Right?
I guess the next question becomes what do you do with it?
Sorry?
The next question becomes what do you do with it?
Again, you love
Yeah,
it.
I just love the line.
Okay. That's okay. That just means you're afraid because you're hiding it for a reason. Right? And that reason is you're afraid to know.
But I want to.
Yes. So that means love. Because as you are able to give that part of yourself, you just give love to the line and go in campfire and give love to the child selves that have that. You can use this to call them out. If they won't come out, stay with loving the line. Because when you can truly love that part of yourself, then they will trust you. Then you will be able to know. You know what's cool about this? Is it shows you where you need to give the love.
I was trying to think of why I leave things messy.
Yeah.
And whatever, it's way too big.
Yeah. So I think you leave things messy because you need chaotic for creativity. Creativity is not orderly.
I was thinking I was doing it in order to say, damn it all, this is my place, and rebelling and all that other stuff.
Well, that's part of it though, because if you're a creative person, creative people are not tidy. They have big splashes and big, like they do big and loud, right? I think I told you the story. I remember at one point with Andrew saying to him, and he was like, I don't know, 12 or something, right? Like, okay, I don't expect things, but I need you to have everything off the floor on whatever day the housekeeper was coming. So like, say she came on Wednesday, then on Wednesday morning when you go to school, everything has to be off the floor. Now, think about in your mind how that would translate. Like to me, it would be pick things up, put them away, like put the laundry in the laundry bag. No, he hung a net from the ceiling. He hung a net from the ceiling and put all the stuff on the floor in the net. Who does that? Who does that? Right? People who don't think orderly. Because like to me, it was like pick it up and put it away. That's order, right? Put order on it? No, because having the stuff spread out was part of his self-expression. So I said, take it off the floor. So he put it on the ceiling. Made perfect sense to him. He was confused that I would think it should be a different way. He needed it all spread out and splashed. And I remember at one point I bought him a t-shirt for like, I think I got each of the boys one of these it was a hand painted t-shirt. And he put it up on the wall, which was cool. I mean, it's not wrong. Like you never ever wore the thing, I don't think. Right? Because
I'm afraid to be me.
Isn't that the bottom line?
Yeah.
Isn't that the bottom line? So creative people tend to be loud and messy and right? That are uncomfortable for people who are not like that. I remember years ago, years and years, I actually worked on a movie. It was one of those experiences. Somebody I knew was doing a movie. She said, I want you to come and do this, be a script supervisor, which was kind of a management role. So that was kind of fun. I'd never want to do it again, but it was just like, all right, I'll do one, have an adventure. And it was amazing to me to be around all of these artsy people who are just like everything they do is loud and dramatic and just way bigger and noisier than it needs to be.
That's
Like,
the outrageous, you said.
See? And that's normal for them. And I was chatting with my friend after, and she said, I got to tell you, like, if you're ever at a party with a bunch of these artist people, like, they all want to be the center of attention, and they'll do whatever it takes, and they're all doing it. So it's just crazy, right? Crazy. So, and I remember when Andrew was at Canterbury, so when Christmas came, and it's a performing arts school, right? Christmas, he's in grade 9, he's like 13, right? And I said, so, you know, there's a performing arts school, like, do you want to wear a string of Christmas lights or something? Just, you know, because won't it? And he said, oh, no, I'm not, you know. And it wasn't that he wouldn't do it. It was that the people who were going to do it were going to be like the Eton Santa Claus parade walking down the hall. And so he said, I'm not, like, going in with one string of Christmas lights would be so lame. And he said, I don't want to put the effort in to even trying to compete with the you know. And that was the thing, is that they came in with whatever they came in with, but it was huge. Whatever it was huge, right? And that's okay. If it's allowed. It's, you know, if it's allowed, it's okay.
I'm afraid to express that.
Yep. When we renovated the bathroom on Abbey Hill Drive, which was like a 50-year-old house, we knew we were pulling out the bathtub. So I spent, I don't know, 6 weeks or something making Jell-O. And we stored it in the garage because nobody was going to eat it. And then we put all the Jell-O in the bathtub and put the kids in it. It was a hoot, right? It was a hoot. And they had a blast. And they threw it at the walls, and, you know, because it was all getting ripped out. It didn't matter, right? Well, you know, we had all the days, right?
We saw that Nerf guns were on sale.
Right? Nerf guns are our Christmas thing. Right?
Got a few.
See?
Mine was the fun part about it was realizing that everything I've done in my life that I was excessively successful at came at the price of self-love.
See?
So it was like success equals like no self-love. So then it was about kind of switching that over and being like, okay, from now on, success, number one criteria is that there's self-love. Because like it ties into all the other ones.
Right.
But it's like, yeah, so.
See? So it's fascinating because this is about understanding where you're not willing to love yourself. This is finding the places where, like, you don't believe that you deserve love or that you should be loved for this characteristic, for this behavior, for this, whatever it is about you. And so it's your guideline to how to give yourself love. If you need to hang stuff from the ceiling or whatever, you know, throw Jell-O at the walls, whatever. And it's funny because you say, you know, I want to be your kid. My kids had to work really hard to learn how to behave in other houses. Right? Because, you know, they go over with school friends or whatever, and they would interact. They try to interact the way they interact with us. That didn't go over well, I'll tell you. Right? So they had to learn a lot more about strategy, right?
Well, I just realized when you were saying that, it's like, so why couldn't I do something outrageous like that?
Right?
Like,
Why couldn't you?
I would never have been allowed as a kid, but
Ever.
so what's stopping me as an adult?
Right?
Something.
And it's habit.
Yeah.
It's habit.
Yeah, like I think the thing for me, like I just, no.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just gonna say it. It's like my core fear isn't about being in my power because I could hurt others. My core fear is that being in my power could mean that I would hurt myself.
Yeah. Which is why your limbic system protects you from being powerful. Right? You know that thing about it's not your light you're afraid of?
Yeah.
Right?
Say that again.
Me?
Really, yeah.
Yep.
Being in
Like
your
basically like a big thing of mine is I'm afraid to be in my power because I'm afraid I will use it like in a way that I will hurt others instead of helping them. You know,
Okay.
the same way that, and then as I looked into that, I was also realizing that I help others partly in order to then be able to be like, you know. So the more I delved into it, the more like I started realizing, okay, so it's not really, because my last thing was about, okay, why am I not? I know I can do this. Why am I not doing it? Why am I not building a successful career, whatever, you know? And it's like at first it's like, well, but because you're not ready.
whatever
You're
stories.
afraid to hurt others or whatever. You're afraid you're going to use your powers in selfish ways and that. And then it's like, yeah, but underneath all that shit is the fact that I've been hurting myself my whole life. So if I get all powerful, how much fucking damage can I do to myself?
True. I understand that.
Like, whoa, that would definitely put like, and at a certain point, like, I think I got decided in me. It's like, you know what? Like, I have like a 9.8 out of 10 grade point average at university. It came with shitloads of self-hate. And like a lot of not loving myself and always squashing my needs. So success equals being loveless to myself. So then it's like, okay.
Swap that one.
So let's F that success definition and let's bring one on where success means I'm loving myself first.
So it's not eliminate that one because that's how you're wired. It's allow that one to be.
To shift. To,
No. Allow that one to be and add other options. So success can be self-hate and success can be self-love and success can be self-nurturing.
So love the line,
love the line. It's not destroy it.
Yeah, no, it's, but I think I'm taking like a polar split, you know, like it was it was like either success or love myself.
See?
So it's kind of like success is to love myself.
Yes.
But I'm trying to squash something by doing that.
Yes. So
God damn it.
because there's
I'm doing it again.
the part of you that is wired that way, that says success is self-hate, isn't wrong. It's just a choice. So you give love to that instead of trying to destroy it, because the trying to change it is calling you wrong. So it's okay.
Paradox to love hate, though, you know.
Right, I know.
It's a paradox.
I know. So it's allowing that to be and giving it the love. Okay, this is who I am, so I love who I am, and I can have other options. Because you look at it and you go, well, that's just screwed. I want to break that, which is, I want to break you. Right?
But like, is it also possible that like one of the reasons that there's a lot of things that aren't moving in my life right now are because there has been a decision that I will love myself before success or whatever?
So allow this one. So this one says, I can only have success with self-hate. That's what it says, right?
I mean, it's like drive and
Yeah.
yourself.
Okay. So allow this one to be love. This is who I am. If this is how I'm wired, and that's what I want to do, then I need to love me being that. Because that's what allows an option of success with self-love to come into being. If you're trying to squish this, you're trying to squish you. Because it came into being for all kinds of good reasons. It's not wrong. It isn't wrong. It's just another choice. Because here's what you want to do. You're saying self-hate is wrong. No, it's not. It's just a choice. It's just a choice. It's not wrong. You want to call it wrong because you've been, oh, no, you're supposed to love yourself. Okay, that's great. Except that's a choice too. It's not a requirement. It's a choice. It's just a different color t-shirt.
So if I set up a requirement that self-love has to be before any form of success, that's not okay?
No, it's not okay. Because you're hating the part of yourself that doesn't do self-love.
Hating the hater.
Right? That's it exactly. If you set...
I can admit that I have no idea how to love the hater in me. I don't know how to do that.
Okay.
That's a good place to be, though, at this time.
Yeah.
I can admit it.
Yeah. Start with compassion.
Wouldn't that be the same thing?
Compassion doesn't judge. I think you're thinking.
What I mean, like love or compassion, like.
So if you say this is the part of me that does self-hate, it's a part of you. It's not wrong. It's just a choice. It's a choice. You could, in fact, live the rest of your life doing self-hate. Many people do. Many more people do self-hate all the time than do self-love. You'd be like within crowd.
I don't understand how to draw the line in the sand and,
Why draw the line? Then it's a.
well, it's coming, because it comes down to the deciding, like,
You can only decide if there's an option. Right now, there's no option. That's how you got to this. You found a place where you didn't have the option. So until you can love this part, where's the option? You can say, all right, I'm not having any success till I do self-love. So then you don't have any. Perfect.
so then I just hide in my house and I'm broke.
Right? And you're fulfilling it perfectly. I will not have success until I have self-love.
Mhm.
Ta-da, no success.
You're successful.
Perfect.
Successful!
Right?
So what's coming to my mind is, I was telling Trish, I went to a family wedding. I have this niece who is batshit crazy. I haven't seen her like incredible, wicked witch of the west. She looks exactly like that. And she has some serious mental issues. And I haven't seen her in years and years and years. And I was just shocked at her state and, blah, blah, blah. And so for a few days, I was like, and she wanted to come visit me. Oh my God, no. But anyway, all of a sudden, after a few days, I realized, oh my God, she's having a ball. She's having an experience. She's just having a ball.
How to give yourself permission to break all the rules? Be batshit crazy.
Yeah, and so when you're saying that about the hater's just having an experience. Can you love that?
It'd be easier to love if it didn't hurt as much.
But that's just a choice. I mean, people climb Mount Everest. I promise you it hurts. And they'll brag about that.
So that's not like the emotional abuse, like it's like the constant abuse.
So here's the thing. Pain is simply information from your subconscious. Why call it wrong? Do you see what we do? Right? We want to turn everything into a wrong. So you're like, how many ways can I call myself wrong? This has to be wrong. It causes me pain. Lots of things cause pain. They don't have to be wrong. People who decide to climb Mount Everest, they do it for fun. They're crazy, but they do it for fun. Right? You'll think about this. You have a 4-day processing cycle, so take your 4 days.
Pat Milan wanted to share, here's what happened, she says. The opposite of possibly getting killed, destroyed, doing what I love, is succeeding in being accepted doing it. And the deep why is I wouldn't be walking my talk as I still have to learn to love myself unconditionally.
Yeah.
So teaching it without living it would be unauthentic.
Right.
Love that mind/self. Love the previous one.
Yeah. Right? Okay, one more thing, and I know we're over time, so we'll do it pretty quick. Some of you will remember doing Christmas tree lights, so we're just going to do like a version of that. So the original one, just in case you forget or it's been a while, right? So the way we do Christmas tree lights is I say, light up in me, and that's you. Light up in me anything that interferes with, fill in the blank. So for instance, let's do light up in me anything that interferes with the live out loud expression of self, the outrageous. Light up in me anything that interferes with my ability to do live out loud outrageous. And then let yourself see all of those lines. Whenever I do this, it's like looking at the city of New York at night, right? It's like huge. I see these things in me. I choose to be free of them now. Take it all away from me now and keep going, keep going, keep going. The reason you do keep going is because sometimes taking out a layer allows another layer to become available to take out. And it'll lift, basically, it'll lift whatever you're willing to let go. So you could do it today and do it next week. It still always looks like New York to me. That's it. So now, just for fun, we'll do it again and you'll see a whole nother set of lights. I want to show you something else. So light up in me anything that interferes with my ability to live the loud, outrageous life. And remember, having the ability doesn't mean you have to confront. Having the ability doesn't mean you have to have all kinds of drama. This is having the ability, which is making the choice available. Okay? It's about giving yourself the available choice. So light up in me anything that interferes with my ability to live the loud, outrageous life. Lines.
I guess they're hiding on me.
That's okay. That's okay. Because this is a big one for you. Right? Now, while you have those lit, pick a different color and show me the alternative choices that already exist for me. Okay, several people want to throw up. It's okay, breathe. So what's interesting here is you have all these lines that are the limits, and you can see the other ones, they're already there. You just can't get at them, right? And you can't get at them because these lines are dominant. Yes, the light went out. That's it. So allow yourself to just see the alternative choices. Now, of course, we have a lot of type A going on. So the first thing you want to do is say, oh, I want those lines. I want the alternative lines. Relax. Relax. Because as you release the limiting lines, the alternative lines automatically become available. So now what we were talking about tonight was, rather than trying to yank all this stuff out, what you want to do is give it love. So rather than say, remove it all, let's love all of it. Put love in all the lines. Put love into the lines that are limiting you, and put love in the lines that are the alternatives. Put love in all of it. And remember that your head will not actually explode. We've been doing this for many years. Nobody's head has literally exploded. It just feels like it's going to. Right? This is a fact. So love in all of the lines. We think the lines that interfere are wrong, so we don't want to love those. So let's put love in those lines and love in the alternative lines to make all of the choices available. Now that's a new way of doing it. Ha ha. So now I think it's worth doing the individual lines. You know me, I also like to have the bulk processing tools for when you're feeling impatient, which is frequently. That's it. So when you're ready, release that. And then focus on your breath from your sacred space. And just focus on that breath and focus on filling up all of this group. The people who are here, the people who are online, the people who will tune in later. And just let all of that sacred space light share with everybody. And make sure you allow yourself to accept. If you only focus on giving it to everybody else, you forget the part where you allow yourself to accept, because everybody is sharing their light with you. And even people who watch this or listen to it or whatever, months later, it'll still come to you. Because energy is outside time. That's it. That's it. Glorious. So when you feel ready, allow yourself to step out of that light and bring yourself back up to float in the bowl. Just give yourself a moment to float in the bowl. And then bring yourself back to the room. And say, damn, we're good. Like, really? Seriously, damn, we are good. Right?
The late metaphor was good because all of a sudden it plugged in.
Right?
I usually see, not in me, but in
Yep,
the
yep.
representation of.
Yep.
At the end there, I did see it in me. I don't know what the difference is.
It actually doesn't matter.
No,
It's the intent that matters, right?
I used Zach when it was bad.
Pretty cool, huh?
He was going,
Yay. We did good.
When I was doing the Christmas tree lights and we set out to bring the alternative, it was like I had two separate, so all the alternatives were like clear red, like.
Yep.
But do I have to do some inspiration there?
Nope.
No?
Nope, because they are, and I said, make them a different color even,
Yeah. Okay.
right? Because it's helping you understand what you're rejecting, right? Like these ones I consider acceptable. These ones I want to yank out. And isn't that interesting? Because that was a huge part of what we had to figure out. It's how much we want to dismiss this stuff or discard it or judge it, call it wrong, not love ourselves in these places, right?
why am I coming out with the rash, Trish? Make it go.
That's 7.
Yeah,
That's 7. I have 7 people doing rashes right now.
What?
8.
Rashes
That's
for
8.
years.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Right? See?
I can't get rid of it.
So remember, it's weave. When you do a rash, it's weave. So start by flushing your flush your weave. So flush your weave, right? And then check and see what got stuck in your weave. Right? Okay, I will say good night. Yes, we ran over, I know. Okay.